Well, I'm back. I'm sorry for not posting any videos lately, but I had to do some yard work, cut down 4 trees and, cut them up, stuff like that. But now I'm back. So today, like the last video, I needed to know the distance between the front and the rear, if they were on the same level or if the rear was lower. And I posted on 3 different forums. 2 of them were one English Volvo forum and one American Volvo forum, to ask if anybody could measure on their all-wheel drive Volvos. Unfortunately, nobody took me up on it, and finally last week I found an first gen V70 AWD all-wheel drive in a parking lot. So I always have a tape measure in my car, so I measure it. So now I know that the rear section needs to be about 6 centimeters, 60 millimeter lower than the front section, or higher depending on which way the body is turned. Since I'm working with it upside down, I'm talking about lower. If you flip the body around, it's going to be 60 millimeter higher than the front. So that's why I'm back in business now. I have been drawing some lines here where I'm going to cut out parts from this one so I can lower it down 60 millimeter or 50 millimeter is going to be, but I can adjust that. When it's finished, I can adjust that with some coilovers, or I get some coils that lower the rear more than the front. That's a later problem. 10 millimeter here and there. So I'm going to start cutting this out and then put it back on the body. Oh, and that's right, this cross member here, I'm removing that, because if I'm going to drop this down 50 millimeters, everything here is going to disappear. And I want to keep this center section because it has for the seat belt attachments. So I'm going to keep this center section, and then when the subframe is on the body, I put this on in the middle and then build it up on the sides from there. And also why it's so thin here, it's because here's where the exhaust pipe goes, and you see it's normal height over here. This side exhaust pipe's gonna go factory, and that's perfect because I got more room on that side than on that side for a muffler. So I'm going to start trimming that subframe. I got to do some trimming around here for the shock towers, and I'm also going to trim down this that sticks up here because the subframe has to come all the way down. But 50 millimeters is going to be even with this one and this one. That's perfect. That means that the rocker panels support is going to be attached to the rear subframe of the 850, and that makes it a lot stronger. That's perfect. So I don't think I'm going to film cutting sheet metals, so I start the camera again when I'm ready to put this back on the body to see where I need to trim it. So I'll be back. There, I cut this up. You turn the law. Oops. There's not much left of it. And of course I'm gonna these reinforcements here and around here, that's gonna be welded. I'm gonna redo this too. And this one I'm gonna weld to the outer skin. Around here it's gonna be attached to the rocker panel reinforcement. And the strut towers, they have a reinforcement that I haven't put on yet. This one. That's going around the strut towers and to the frame rails and also to the body. Because this is sitting, this one is this side, sitting like this. So you see the top side here, that's attached to the body, and the sides to the frame rail, and the other side goes to the cross member that I removed. Well, I'm putting it back, but so the strut towers is gonna be strong enough. So let me rig up the camera and see if this fits any better under my 460. Hang on. So let's mark where we need to trim on the body, and it's mostly around the strut towers. Because it needs to come back maybe 15 millimeters, about 10 millimeters, and I can't get it back because the strut tower mounts is hitting the body. So let's trim around there. Let's see. We need to trim here. And of course this one. And over here. needs to come back too. So let me take that back. Over there. One way. Det var inte bra. Jag ska över lite åt den här sidan. Is it level? Almost. When I clean this up from sheet metal that's still on here. So I can get it down even with this. It's gonna be level. So what is it laying on now? Oh, down there. Cut that corner off. Make a mark. That one I can bend down and weld in the body there. So make this bigger. Like there. I think. And it's gonna fall down. you wonder why I saved this, that's because it's a reinforcement under here for this bolt. This section here is reinforced from underneath. That's why I saved this. And I also have something to build my inner fender well against. I have a mark where it's supposed to be, how far out. And all this, just build this up with the fender well here. And then I can get in and attach the reinforcement here against the body and against this. I still have these pieces. This one, I clean this up. Weld it back here. But I guess that's it. Just notch out, corner in here on each side, and it's going to drop down all the way. Perfect. So let's do that. There we go. Now I got it where I wanted it. Gets even with this. It almost, the distance here compared to the front is just 10mm difference, and I can adjust that in the spring setup. But this one has to be it's kind of bent the wrong way, so I've got to bend it back, which means I can weld this one to the rocker panel support here, and I'm going to build up here with the piece that I cut off. And this inner one here, I don't know, it's kind of dark to see. This one I'm going to fold down so I can weld it in the body. And here is going to be an extra 3mm plate that covers the whole gap here. I just got to see how far I can take it, because of these are attached there. So I'm gonna make it so it lines up with the plate that bolts on there. But it's leveled and it lines up with the marks made on the fender. Remember I talked about earlier, these marks, the center of the hub wheel bearing, it lines up with these marks. So, and here is some sheet metal from the rocker panels to here. Gotta cut this off and you get this hump disappears. So it's gonna get down to this flush. This one I don't have to, it's not bent, it's straight. And probably extend this floorboard here. I extend that all the way out here. And like I said before, I want to keep this. This is for the seat belt. So I'm keeping all this. I'm building a new inner fender well around this and up here. I'll cut this off. So a new fender well is going to come down here. And these, I'm going to extend these in an angle against the factory 460 frame. And in here, like I showed you earlier in the video, the support for the shock tower is going to come up here. So I'm going to attach the shock tower support to this frame rail here. And it goes in an curve like this. So it's going to be plenty strong when it's all done. And then I'm building the cross member after I got this welded in. So now comes the boring part. Just cleaning everything up where I need to weld it. But I just laid it on here and it's pretty even right now. I'm going to measure it so it's exactly lined up, front and rear. So there won't be any problem with the alignment or, oh look here, I gotta cut this out a little bit. Otherwise I won't get the wall to, the support to fit here. So I'm going to clean all this up and I'm going to put the support, weld the support to the shock tower mounts. And then it's easier to see how much I have to trim this. And it also makes the shock tower mounts sturdier. What does it look like from the inside? They're sticking out a bit. I gotta fit 2 chairs in the back here too, so that's later. But this, considering it's the first time I'm doing a job like this, I know it's a big gap behind here, like on the other side, but I just build that up with 2mm sheet metal and get it going. This is the leftover from the factory frame rail. It's still spot welded to the body, so I'm going to use as much as I can from this to support 850, like in the front here. That's really easy, making an L profile all the way here. But I don't know if the rear, if I'm going to go in an angle or if I'm going to weld it in this. I kind of wanted to do it in an angle. It gets stronger, I think. I'm not sure. I don't know. we'll see. And the rear here, I'm making an L bracket, welded to the floor. And like I said, extending this. I might even do some support between here. There's some, like a cross member, but from a 3mm. We'll see. It's got to be strong. When you drop the clutch at 6,000 RPM, nothing is supposed to move. So, we'll see. That's it for today anyway. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned. More to come, not just every day. Bye.